When you're looking at a mobility scooter, the first thing that trips most people up is the temptation to go cheap. I've seen a lot of folks grab a budget three-wheel model that promises lightweight and portable, only to discover the battery dies after a few blocks or the seat feels like a metal chair on a cold day. The regret that follows is real, and that's why I wanted to take a closer look at the Pride Mobility Go-Go Elite Traveler before you make a decision. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Go-Go Elite Traveler is marketed as a travel-ready scooter for adults who need a little extra independence without lugging a bulky chair onto a plane or into the trunk of a car. It's not a novelty item. It's an FDA Class II medical device, which means it's been cleared for safety and basic performance standards. That alone tells you Pride isn't treating this as a toy. The real question is whether its features line up with the everyday situations most of us face when we need a little boost to get around town, the grocery store, or the airport. First, let's talk about the weight capacity. At 300 pounds, the Go-Go Elite Traveler can accommodate a wide range of users, from petite seniors to larger adults who might struggle with a lower-rated scooter. In the real world, that capacity often translates to fewer worries about hitting a limit when you add a backpack, a grocery bag, or a small medical kit. If you're on the heavier side of the spectrum, this is one of the first things you'll appreciate, especially compared to some entry-level scooters that top out at 250 pounds. Battery life is another pain point for many buyers. The Go-Go uses a 12Ah battery, which Pride advertises as efficient. In practical terms, that usually means you can expect around 12 to 15 miles on a single charge under normal walking speeds, enough for a typical day of errands, a trip to the park, or navigating a large indoor facility. I've spoken with a few owners who say the scooter gets them through a half-day of mall shopping without needing a recharge, which is a solid benchmark for a travel-focused model. If you're planning to use the scooter for longer outings, you'll want to factor in a backup charger or an extra battery, but for most day-to-day use, the range feels adequate. Portability is where the Go-Go Elite Traveler tries to differentiate itself. The three-wheel design is inherently more maneuverable than a four-wheel chair in tight aisles, and Pride has built in a quick-release system that lets you break the scooter down into two main pieces for storage. The seat folds forward, the tiller detaches, and the whole thing fits into a compact footprint that can slide into a standard car trunk or a small storage closet. This isn't a scooter you have to leave at the front desk of an airline. You can actually bring it onto a plane, roll it off the baggage carousel, and reassemble it in minutes. That convenience factor is a major win for anyone who travels frequently or lives in a smaller apartment where space is at a premium. Design-wise, Pride gives you a little room to personalize. The Elite Traveler comes in a clean blue finish, but the upholstery and tiller grips are interchangeable, so you can swap in a color that matches your style or preferences. It's a small touch, but for people who spend a lot of time seated, it can make the device feel less clinical and more like an extension of personal space. The seat dimensions, 17 inches wide by 17 inches deep, strike a balance between being roomy enough for comfort and compact enough to keep the overall footprint small. If you're used to larger, bulkier chairs, the seat might feel a touch tighter at first, but most users find it sufficient for short to moderate periods of sitting. Durability testing is something Pride highlights, and while I don't have lab data to quote, the company's reputation in the mobility market suggests they've put the scooter through a series of stress tests, things like weight cycling, impact resistance, and corrosion checks. In everyday life, that translates to a scooter that can handle the bumps of a city sidewalk, the occasional curb jump, and the humidity of a coastal climate without rusting or loosening bolts. If you're a frequent user who lives in an area with rough pavement or unpredictable weather, that durability focus is a practical advantage. Now, who should really consider the Go-Go Elite Traveler? If you're an adult who needs a reliable, mid-range scooter for daily activities, grocery runs, visits to friends, short trips to the doctor, and you also travel at least a few times a year, this model lines up nicely. Its 300-pound capacity, respectable battery range, and easy disassembly make it a solid candidate for someone who values independence but doesn't want to commit to a heavy, non-portable chair. It also appeals to people who like a bit of style. The customizable grips and sleek color give it a less medical look. On